Welcome to the Milk and Honey with Lemon podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, creator of the Holy Girl Habits, wife and mama, and certified life and leadership coach who turned away from corporate life to embrace kingdom leadership. This podcast is for Christian women feeling the weight of their divine callings, grappling with doubts of their leadership abilities, and searching tirelessly for biblically grounded guidance who want to step confidently into their roles as radiant kingdom leaders. Inside, we're going to traverse from those feelings of uncertainty and overwhelming searches, moving toward firm biblical leadership, empowering you to steward your gifts, and showing you that you indeed have what it takes. So, sister, grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, and let's dive in together. Welcome back to the Milk and Honey podcast. I am so excited because today I have my friend Christina Smallwood here. Christina is a 38-year-old adoptive mom of three, which if you look at her, you would not believe that in any way, shape, or form. Oh, she has twin toddlers, which is amazing. And her oldest, 9, which I have a heart for, that my youngest is 9, has special needs and is predominantly living in a wheelchair. However, Christina, she's amazing. She runs a very successful home-based business. And you probably would recognize her as Tamara Judge's hairstylist from The Real Housewives of Orange County. I feel like I needed to fix my hair better before I went. She has this crazy experience in the beauty industry. She's used her social media to grow a multi-million-dollar home-based business. So mama, if you're like, I can't do this, if Christina can, then you can. She utilizes her sobriety. Hi, thank you. Love you for that. All of her life traumas and experiences and these true stories, and she coaches others with her proven system. It is her mission, and I love her mission, to spread the message that you can take serious charge of your life without taking life too seriously. Her biggest call to action is her hope to inspire you to just be yourself. And so I want you guys to prepare for laughs and tears as you follow along her beautiful journey. So thank you for being here, Christina. I'm so excited to have you.
Wow, that's such a mouthful when you say it back. I'm literally pumped to be here, and I love that you fixed your hair because mine's slicked with sweat. So it is what it is. The show goes on. No, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for being willing to have me on, and I love everything your podcast is about. And I was literally just praying like before that God would bring me the words. And even as you were talking, the most profound thing that just kept coming to me was God doesn't call the qualified. Like he qualifies the called. And as you were like going down the like quick little overview of my life, I think if someone had met me 10 years ago, they'd be like, you are completely a different person. This is not you. This is not who I used to know. And that's truly because of God's grace and goodness. So I'm excited to dive into that with other people that might be struggling with how do I become who I feel like God has called me to be.
Oh, okay. This is definitely a God thing because I just had this conversation with somebody the other day about how they felt like they couldn't step fully into their purpose and calling because people who know their past don't want to let them be this person that God actually wants them to be. Have you had that experience, my friend?
Oh, yes, lots of it. And honestly, I feel like a lot of it can come from like our family situations. And it's extremely difficult to overcome that. Okay, look, I'm a pastor's kid. That's all part of who I am, my genetic makeup. I have a naturally rebellious spirit. I was like the quintessential PK that was doing the rebellious things. And I was the black sheep of my family. When I had a brother who was straight A student, straight edge, like all the things. And then I was the explorative rebel pusher. And breaking that barrier almost felt harder with my own family that always looked at me as this like little mouthy little 9-year-old to be like, oh, wow, okay, I see beyond that now, and not really let that be who I was. And so part of it was on my journey actually to giving up alcohol and living an alcohol-free life, where I went through the program. I did the whole AA thing, and honestly just having an ego death with it. And really going, okay, it doesn't matter what they think about me because I know what the creator that made me thinks of me. And stepping into that, and I don't know that I did it the healthiest way, but I actually had to just completely cut off ties with my family for over a year to just truly step into that and not even let it mess with me. And so I don't know. I think everybody's got to do what they got to do. But for me, that was the healthiest way to truly not let it affect me, because that little girl inside of me that is so wounded by what those people think, and like I had to please these people, I couldn't completely let go without truly separating myself.
I get that. I've done that. I've had family who just does not understand. So I was raised in an anti-Christian household.
Oh, wow.
No, we grew up completely opposite. And I was probably your brother. I was very straight-laced, like straight A's. I volunteered at all the things, but my family made fun of Christians. And so when I told them I was, they were furious with me.
Oh my gosh.
And so we lived like such opposite stories, but came to the same sort of conclusion here.
Yes, because God is good. Okay. And if you believe that he is in control of your life and you give him full control of your life, and I truly mean that, because I got this tattoo on my wrist, right? The day that I decided to go on my own as a hairstylist. I went to beauty school. I was an assistant for way too long. She kicked me out of the nest. I go and work on my own. And the day that I was like, I'm going to go get it. I'm very impulsive and I love a thrill. And it's like all part of my nature. And so I went and got a tattoo, and I got the Bible, Proverbs 16:3, which is commit to the Lord and you'll succeed. I was not walking with God when I got this tattoo at all. And yet that's what I put on my body. And I think there's something to say, I can talk like a Christian, but actually walking like a Christian is a whole different thing. And fully sacrificing, laying out the fleece almost of your life and truly doing that. And I knew with my intentions of I need to heal, I need to separate. That is exactly where I was like allowing the Holy Spirit to come in, and he's worked in amazing ways. I've reunited with my family. It's just even better than I could have ever imagined or expected it to be at this point. And I know that's not the case for everybody's story, but it truly is a sign, because if you knew me and my mom growing up, it was like we always made people uncomfortable. We were always fighting. I know I'm taking a turn with your topic here, but I think a lot of people really do struggle most with those who they're closest to.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit how you because I feel like going through that process, right? Of being like, okay, I don't see myself as this person anymore, but I need to get to this person. What was that process like for you? And like, how did you even come to the conclusion that I'm not going to be the rebellious pastor's kid anymore?
Yes. So for me, what that translated to in adulthood is just intense people pleasing. Living to the approval of others. Like I almost needed people to just give me acknowledgments constant. And I was a needy girlfriend to my husband. And so anyways, it was all just, this is not who I want to be. I want to be a powerful, confident businesswoman. And that is so the opposite of what I was. I was a bit of a gossiper. I would say that was like, other than alcohol, like that was my vice. And I like thrived on that information and like knowing things and saying things and having these little comments. And it's so crazy because I think people talk about alcohol as it could be a problem. I think gossip is literally just as big of a problem in people's lives and hearts. And so I had a situation where my mouth and my gossip and my people pleasing got me in this triangulation with two of my partners, my business partners. And they just called me one day, put me on a surprise Zoom and called me out on everything I had been saying. And although I could sit there and defend my intentions and say like Jesus on my side, because everyone was a Christian in the conversation. So that's another thing. Like when you're all Christians, how do you really duke it out? Because you all have Jesus on your side and you all could literally almost virtue signal the other person. So it was in that moment that I really was like, I had been praying for discernment. I had been praying to be a stronger businesswoman. And here I was presented with a situation where I felt like a fool. And I felt like the weakest business person. I didn't have a backbone. I didn't have a moral compass. And I'm extremely grateful for that conversation because it really was the catalyst that like catapulted me into this. Okay, it's going to be extremely painful. There's going to be a lot of tears. Humility is going to come with this. And again, like another ego death that goes along with realizing, okay, I am a problem in my own life. What am I doing that is not contributing to the greater cause of what's good for what God is calling me to do? God's not calling me to please these people. God is calling me to step into what he wants me to do and be a truth teller. And how can I do that? I can't separate that. I can't turn that on and then turn it off and then go gossip. And there's no on and off switch and just being that person. So I actually went to therapy for the first time in my life. This was right before 2020 happened, and it just started a breakdown. And so I would say that the way anybody could do that is like an overwhelming accountability of everything that you've done wrong. And I don't mean like pity yourself and victimize yourself. I just mean look at yourself with an awareness of what are my weaknesses? What are my flaws? What are my unattractive traits? And like, how can we improve those? And it started there and it snowballed.
I love that because that's so hard to do.
It's so hard.
It is so hard to look at yourself and be like, wow, I am the problem.
I just went through something recently, and I honestly, if people are like, what? Just put water under the bridge, just say you're sorry, and I feel a resistance in myself, I go, okay, what am I resisting? Is it my ego? Is it my pride? What is making me resist this? And so it's just almost that ability to just have that self-reflective awareness. I feel like most people cannot just say, wait, why am I feeling like this? Is that what God's will for me is? And like truly inviting him into every decision that you make.
Yes, I love that. Inviting him to every decision we make. I remember a few years ago, it was like trending audio on TikTok, right? Oh, do you need Jesus all the time? And it was like, you need Jesus to go to Walmart. Like, I need Jesus every single place that I go, in every single decision that I make. And it does make such a huge difference in the way that you show up and the way you present yourself and the way you represent Christ when you fully surrender. So I know you said this earlier, like truly surrender. So like in your world, like what does true surrender look like? And like, how can we be truly surrendered?
So I'm a business owner, as I imagine majority of your listeners are. And it's super easy to say, where are my leads? Where are my customers? Why is my business not growing? What's going on with this Instagram algorithm? There's so many things designed to truly make us feel like we are the sole like contributor and control of whatever it is. And I have a few women on my team that we literally will pray over our businesses. And I have tried without just being the same Christian woman I am, all the things. I went through a devotional and it was like pray over and share with God truly what the desires of your heart are. And I think that a lot of people go, that's selfish to ask God for that. God will bring me what he wants. And it's no, he made us with a purpose and he wants us to have the desires of our heart. But we have to be loyal to him and glorify him in all that we do. And it seems like, oh, like it's like this magic switch, but I'm not kidding when I decided to do that. And so I can feel myself starting to feel like I'm in control of my business. I think it's really easy and sometimes it happens daily, but I have to call myself out and say, you know what, just express my gratitude instead of thinking and looking at what I don't have. I need to remember I'm so grateful for what I do have. And I feel like in any capacity, you can choose to do that. You watch people get on stage with no arms and no legs, and they're telling you how grateful they are for their abundant life. And most people couldn't even fathom. And I've been through the tragic loss of my dad. I've been through an adoption process because I am infertile. I've been through many surgeries, and my daughter lives predominantly in a wheelchair. Like there's real life things that give you this perspective to say it could be so much worse. And realizing God put you right where he wants you. And so you got to make the lemons out of lemonade and really truly see that beauty in whatever.
I love that. I love that you're like, God has us exactly where he wants us to be in the exact, thing that he wants us to be, but also talking about the things that we want because I hear it. I'm sure you do too. I'm sure the women listening hear this all the time, but I get told on a regular basis that because I'm a Christian, I shouldn't want my business to grow, or you shouldn't charge for your services, or there's all these shouldn'ts. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't want that. You're selfish for this. And so it's really interesting. Like I love talking to other women who love the Lord, are really successful in their business. And you're like, yeah, I can be both. I get to exist in both places.
Yes, please. And matter of fact, the more integrity you have and the greater your business grows, the greater your influence for God grows and the bigger your ministry is. I do view my business as a ministry because the way that we get to touch women's lives and truly influence them to empower themselves, I think it all boils down to, I would say most businesses boil down to confidence, learning to use your gifts and your skills. And who gave you those? God did. And it's with your intention and your pure heart to just say, okay, I'm going to be faithful and humble servant of God. And yes, I feel like we could do an entire podcast on this topic because I've said this recently to a few business partners. I'm like, instead of saying, dear God, I hope you have your will be done over my business, why can't you just say, I would really to grow my business by 10% or 20% or 30%. You can say that. There's nothing greedy about that. I have had a friend that explained it one time. She was like, it's like Christmas for your kids. And if you're like, what do you guys want? What would make you so happy? And they're like, whatever you want to get me. It's just so different when you know that they want whatever it is and they're saying it and they're writing it on a list and they're letting other people know, there's so much more glory in giving them that gift. And every single time I have it happen where I pray, it's not like God's magic genie. That's not what I'm saying at all, because it is you're met with a lot of resistance, I would say, when you really are following God's will. So much resistance. And it almost feels, oh, wait, maybe this isn't God's plan for me. It can get like that hard where you're even questioning, should I be doing this? But that's how I feel like you're on the right path when you start meeting all the resistance. But again, I think speaking it out and like truly knowing yourself to know, okay, that is the desire of my heart. And what are you going to do with that? There's that Mother Teresa quote. If you got everything you want, I think maybe it's Mother Teresa, maybe it's not. I don't want to misquote, but if you were granted the desires of your heart today, would it change the world or just yours? And so thinking like bigger picture, like how can I dive into myself to realize my purpose is going to have me want that to be my desire of my heart. And truly at this point in time, it took me years to get here, but my purpose on this planet is to help inspire people to know that they authentically as themselves with their story, no matter how broken or how difficult or any of that is, they have a story to tell in Jesus Christ.
I love what you just said because what came to me is that it is almost selfish of us to not go after the desires of our heart because it is bigger than us. I've had this conversation with people like on my team and stuff. They're like, I'd be so happy just making $2,000. But I'm like, what do you really want to do? What do you really want? What is more money and more business success mean? And they're like, oh, I could open up this nonprofit that I've been dying to open for years. And it means I can tithe bigger to my church and my church is doing XYZ with the money and they really need this and this could pay for that. And when they start seeing that it's not about you, the desires of our heart are never solely about us, I think it gives them freedom to dream bigger.
Let me tell you something really cool, because when my daughter was first diagnosed, we couldn't afford anything. We spent every dime we had on the adoption. I hadn't started my own business yet. I was literally just working on my feet 40 hours a week and then weddings every single weekend. And then I was a product educator. I literally eat, sleep, breathe hair for a majority of my life. And so our first set of wheels that my daughter got was actually a donor walker. And it was old, beat up. And it wasn't new. But we were so grateful to have it. And I just remember being like, just so grateful because they were so expensive and the wait list was super long. So watching my daughter walk with these wheels, I remember it birthed something in me, like how cool, like I want to do that for somebody one day. I had no idea that 6 years later, I would win this award with this company that I partnered with and then ended up doing all this cool stuff with. And then I win this award, and the award comes with $5,000 a month for 12 months to any charity of my choice. And I got to pick, and I donated to Wheels for the World in my daughter's name. And after that year, we were able to donate and put people all over the world in wheels and see video clips of it happening, thousands of wheelchairs all over the world. And to me, that is God. That is totally God. And so anybody that's feeling something, like if you had an act of kindness thrusted upon you or something, even a pay it forward in Starbucks, like any kind of act of kindness, and you say, okay, I want to pay this forward, you look for anything that could be a sign or opportunity for you to be able to do that. And so $2,000 a month, you're thinking so small, like I just want to pay my bills and I just want to get out of debt. But think so big, like you said, nonprofit, like the sky is the limit in Jesus' name. And so I think that's just such a huge point that most women need to really wrap their brain around, that the seed is planted within you for you to do big and amazing things, because our God is big and mighty and designed us to do.
Man, you're going to make me emotional just thinking about it, because there are, yeah. I remember when we moved into our house. So we don't love our house. It's super small. Our lease was up. We were visiting family in Texas. And then we were like, we're not ready to buy. We weren't sure where we were going to buy, what we were going to do. And so we ended up on our way back from Texas. We were driving back to Georgia. And we had already spoken to a real estate agent. We were coming to sign the rental papers. Everything was fine. And she called us literally. I have my dogs and my kids in the car. And she says, I'm so sorry. Somebody came in today and rented it out from under you. And so we panicked. We're like in Dallas, Texas. And my husband's from El Paso. And so we were literally halfway between where we live in Georgia and El Paso. We were literally at the exact halfway point.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, okay, we could either turn around, drive 10 hours back to El Paso and stay in El Paso, or like we go forward and we just try to figure it out. And so we spent the next like 12 hours on the phone with people, calling around, trying to see what we could do. Cause I'm like, we're going to get to Georgia and have nowhere to put our stuff now.
Oh my gosh. That's
and
like the worst nightmare.
Terrifying, right? When you have kids, we're like, what are you going to do?
Yes.
And so my husband, we dropped our dogs and our kids off with friends and stuff. And we're like, we're going to go look at whatever places we managed to like round up. And every single place we looked at, they were like, it's not going to be ready for 2 weeks, or we can't take your dogs. Or we're like, okay, we're going to figure it out. And then
you're like, it's fine. We're fine. I'm fine.
I was like, we're all going to be fine. The house that we ended up in, and we're still here. It's been 4.5 years. We're still here, but it's such a God thing. This cute little old man, he's in his late 80s. He like met us at a gas station because we live off of a dirt road that has no address.
Oh my God.
And he took us to this house and it was empty. And he was like, okay, do you guys want it? And my husband like, look, what do you want to do? I'm like, yes, obviously, yes. And I'm like, how soon can we move in? Here's the keys.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you don't want to do like a rental? You don't want to know how much money we make? Nothing. And he was like, I'm like, can we security deposit? And it was a Saturday. He's Monday. It's fine. There was no like, he was like, whatever, it's fine. And I was like, what? A God thing.
It's so a God thing. It's like
an
angel. Wow. That's wild.
And so every time I look around and I'm like, oh, this thing in this house is falling apart or whatever, I'm like, God provided this. And so I'm like, all I want to do now is just be able to like provide, right? I want a place where people can gather and feel the love of Christ, feel what I felt when this thing transpired. But we have to think bigger to do that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy. That never happens. Ever. There's no other explanation.
No. When do you ever go to rent a place and they're like, here you go. It just handed us the keys. Here you go. Have a good day. We'll see you on Monday.
No. And in California, we need your blood type. We need
everything, right? They want your parents like credit score. They need like everything.
Your first grade teacher. What was her credit score? Yeah, no, it's gnarly. It's gnarly. But God is so good. And that's the thing is, I think giving him the glory in all of these things, because he's always in all ways. And every now and then my husband, we were unequally yoked in the beginning of our marriage. Okay. And all the time I would say, oh, this is the enemy. And he would, oh yeah, because the enemy really cares about this right now. And I'm like, he does, because if God cares about it, he cares about it. And I'm like, so anyway, so if you're one of those people that really believe there's spiritual warfare going on all the time, I'm with you. Because it's the battlefield. That's what we're on. And so it's, if you feel a seed planted in you to go do something that's the desire of your heart knocking. And so maybe that's just the open door to the opportunity of whatever it is going to be, and truly allowing yourself to change in that process. I think a lot of people come into anything and have a bunch of reservations, walls up. And even for me, it took me a long time to even be able to talk to somebody that I would just cry. I love Jesus. Don't talk about Jesus like that. Like, I would be so defensive. And so just like truly having a heart to listen, I think that's also what we're called to do. And just like how you were like, okay, I'm going to take this place. Yes, I will take it. And now your heart is to like create just more beautiful memories in it. And I think that's just like a great way to just almost tie it in with people's life. Like, wherever you are, like, know that God brought you there, and how are you going to welcome people in and create a beautiful space for people to feel like they see living proof of a loving God.
I love that. I love this so much. Before we wrap up, if there's any final piece of advice you could give to the women listening, what would it be?
Start today with, when I remember thinking that, I'd be like, okay, I'd leave church on Sunday and I'd be like, I'm going to be a changed person. And then Monday would come around, housewife rerun or whatever would be on, and I'd call someone and I'd be gossiping about whatever. And I'm like, wait, start today and just make a little simple thing for you. And so one of the things I did to start like my journey to like really truly being, I think, who God has called me to be, it started with the simple no screenshotting things. Because when you're starting to screenshot and speculate and you send it to people, that's not it. And so I started with that, as simple and maybe as silly as it sounds, but watch what happens to your conversations as you decide to change the conversation into, what is God truly doing good in your life, instead of venting or complaining or living in non-gratitude, because you really can't be grateful and complaining about something at the same time. And so I think it just can start there. And no matter what situation you're in, and just know that doesn't mean life's going to be easy, but when you feel a tension in your life, lean into it and ask God to come into it and show you things, and truly just invite him in all the things, especially when you're mad, especially when you feel that pride, especially when you feel like you're offended by something. Ask God why that is and seek it out. And I would always recommend professional help and going to a really good church.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this advice about screenshots, because that makes such a difference. I noticed it's a huge difference. Now the only screenshots I think that end up going out between my friends and I are like, we have a core group of us and all of our husbands are friends and everything.
Names don't count.
Right? We're like our husbands will say the funniest things and we're like, you need to go see it. And we're all like busting on each other. I'm like, these are funny things.
Yes.
So to watching the conversation shift when you won't engage with the negativity, it's a game changer.
Oh yeah. A lot of the conversations and friends I thought I had just stopped because it was always about someone else.
Yeah. Ooh, I love this. All right. Where can everybody go find you and connect with you on social media, friend?
So I am on TikTok, although I don't got a lot of videos on there, but I'm also on Instagram, both the same handle, at Christina with a CH, A Smallwood, the longest Instagram name ever.
I love it. I'm going to link to all of Christina's social. Go connect with her. She's the cutest thing ever. Seriously.
You're sweet.
And she's amazing. So just thank you for being here. This was so good. I know this is exactly what God had in mind for this conversation. So just thank you for being here and being vulnerable and open and willing to share, my friend.
Thank you, Lemon. I love everything you're about, and I'm excited to continue supporting and loving and listening to you. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you, friend. Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Milk and Honey with Lemon podcast. I am so grateful you were here. I hope this episode has helped you move from feelings of doubt and uncertainty towards stepping confidently into your God-given leadership role, fully equipped with biblical wisdom. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to reach and inspire more Christian women leaders just like you. Don't forget to share your takeaways, post it on Instagram, tag me anywhere you're on social media, and I'll see you next week.